Alright, today's the day. I'm excited to finally assemble all these pieces we've been making and put together the build chamber. Let's go! A huge thank you to PCBWay for supporting this project. They've machined a number of the custom aluminum parts for me. Let's get this opened up and see what we got. You've likely heard of PCBWay for their easy PCB prototyping services, but they also offer services for CNC machining, 3D printing, sheet metal fabrication, and injection molding. I've now used their CNC machining services in several different projects. I like that they can save me some machining time while I focus on other aspects of the project. Ordering is easy. Just drag and drop your step files onto their website, select the part quantities and finishing options, and submit your request. They'll review your files and give you a quote. It's that simple. When I finalize this 3D printer build, I'll upload all of my files to their shared projects page where you can order them directly from PCBWay if you're interested in replicating the build, just as I've done for my past projects like the fiber laser cutting machine builds. Check them out at PCBWay.com. There's two more packages here. We're going to save those for later. I think I know what they are. I've got everything opened up here. The parts look amazing. I just can't get this kind of quality on my machines. So we have everything here for the chamber, the two side walls, the back wall, the floor, the front, and the lid. There's a retaining ring for the glass and some parts for the powder spreader and belts and stuff. I need to tap a few holes in these and then we'll start getting all this assembled. So you may be asking, why didn't I just have PCBWay do all this tapping? Well, it comes down to if I wanted to have them do the tapping, I would have had to create drawings for every part that showed all the tapped holes. And given that I have this electric tapping arm, it's so fast. I just did 12 holes here. It took about maybe 2 minutes. I figured it might even take me more time to create those drawings than for me to just tap them myself. So thus I'm doing it. The majority of holes I'm tapping are blind holes, and this tapping arm is really great because I can set the depth here and it'll stop right before the bottom every time. It makes it really simple. All the holes are tapped. I counted 173 tapped holes. It took maybe a little over an hour, so not too bad. All right, let's get to assembling all this. This is the floor of the chamber. These are the two side plates. Got my gaskets that I cut out. That will go right there. And right there. And those side walls should attach like so. Cool, looks like everything lines up. Let me go get some hardware and I'll attach that. I need to cut down this piece of 15mm guide rail down to right here and here. So I'm gonna get out the angle grinder. All right, that should be ready to install. I think it'll be easier to put the guide rail on now before I get the front on. So yeah, let me get that attached and then I'll break out the dial indicator and try to get it level to the floor. All right, that looks pretty close. I think now we can put the front on. All right, that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and add some of the fittings and stuff, probably on the back, kind of get everything ready to put this on the machine. I think we'll start with this oxygen sensor mount. And the the recirculation out. Let's go ahead and attach these hinges for the lid. I've spun it around here so we can install the front latches. I have these two fittings for my argon in and air out, and they have 1/4 inch MPT threads, so I can add my fittings for that later. I guess we can go ahead and add the solenoids while it's convenient here. I need to add this fitting somewhere to connect the upper chamber with the chamber below the pistons for the pressure differential. I'm not sure, maybe I'll go like right here or something. Yeah, so I need to drill a hole and tap it. Let's see if this air recirculation channel fits in here. I see now that I welded this tab on backwards. The hole should be right over here. So I'm going to take that out and re-drill a new hole. That's installed. I didn't get it on film, but I added a gasket in between this connection right here. I can't add my 3D printed insert yet because I realized I didn't quite add enough clearance and actually broke it when I was trying to fit it in there. So I'm going to resize it slightly and print a new one. This 3D print also didn't quite have enough clearance, but it was close enough that I was able to just give it a little sand. And it looks like it fits now. That's all attached. Let me show you what it looks like from the inside. I do have these two parts that need to be welded together for the recoater, something like that. So let me get the welder switched over to aluminum wire, put that together. That looks like that came out okay. Let's see if we can get this silicone cord into the recoater wiper. I believe this is 3mm diameter. I don't have a surface plate or anything to test this, but if I put it up against a flat surface like this, it does look like it's pretty flat across there. I think it's definitely at least worth testing. We need to slide this on this arm. Something like that. Let me get those screwed on there. All right, well, that looks pretty good. I guess next, let's go ahead and put on the front safety window right here. That should give us a little bit of viewability while we're printing. I believe that's everything we can install right here on the bench. Now we need to get it over on the machine before we can hook up the motor and the pulley, the belt, and the limit switches, and the lid. I need to slide these corner brackets over slightly. It's catching right there on the edge and not allowing it to sit down. That fits nicely now. I just went ahead and removed the innermost corner brackets on each side. They're not really needed. I didn't film it, but I've done a couple things. I put some corner brackets on here to hold the chamber into position. And you can see I've got both of my flexible ducts tied into the chamber now. Let's see if we can get the servo installed. I've already got my 19 tooth pulley on there. Got my gasket. Let's see if we can get the oxygen sensor installed here. Let's start preparing the lid. I think I'm going to put on the other side of these latches here. On the inside of the lid, I made this groove where we can put an O-ring in here. And just press it down in there to make the seal. But you can see I don't quite have enough, so I'm gonna have to order some of that and then we'll put that in. I've ordered some more rubber cord that should arrive tomorrow, but for now I think we can go ahead and get this installed on here. Let's install the protective window. I have a gasket here. Here's the window. I believe it's 152 millimeters. It's supposed to be like 99.5% transmission for 1080 nanometers, I believe. I'm gonna grab it on the edge here. I have another gasket for the top side so we're not clamping down on the glass. I think the lid is pretty much done, except for adding that seal, which is supposed to arrive tomorrow. It'll just lift up like this so we can access everything in here. I think that should be pretty convenient. I woke up this morning to one of you kind viewers reminding me that I forgot to add my second duct here for airflow to keep debris off the protective glass so it doesn't get damaged. I'm not looking forward to it, but I think I need to backtrack real quick, take this out and disassemble so I can get this back wall off and throw it on the CNC router and mill in those features now before we get any further. Well, that's annoying. I forgot to set the depth setting of my tapping arm and I broke the tap. So I'm going to re-drill 2 new mounting holes here and we'll just ignore that and cover it up. All of the features are added now so I can get this assembled back together. I do have the one battle scar, but that's going to be covered up in a minute, so I'm not too worried about it. I've got everything reattached and the chamber's back on the machine, so we're caught up where we were before. My cord arrived, so let's go ahead and install that before we put the lid back on. The lid is installed with the seal. You can see it doesn't quite want to close. That's kind of the fit I was wanting to go for. These clamps will put pressure on it and really make a good airtight seal whenever it clamps it down. So you can see if I put pressure on it, it's going to clamp down. So yeah, let me adjust these to length. All right, that feels pretty nice. I have this little 3D printed duct that I designed to shoot air up towards the window. So let's see if this will fit here. We shall see how that works. This looks like another good candidate for a part, once we get it right, to go ahead and metal 3D print it with the machine. I need to weld on one more flange for this new ductwork. That looks pretty good. I think the rest of my fittings are supposed to arrive today, so we'll finish getting that hooked up later. All my new fittings just arrived, so I'm gonna rearrange some things on the back so we can make the second line that comes into the chamber. If that didn't look like a confusing mess before, it certainly should now. Basically, all I did, this used to be a straight pipe right here. I put in a T so I could run the second line up and down to this second port. I think next I want to get the build platform and powder delivery attached up there on the bottom. I think I'm probably not going to film it because it's already going to be hard enough to work up underneath there without a camera in my face. So I'll check back in a minute. I have the powder delivery and the build platform and my overflow chute all installed on the bottom. Here's what it looks like from the inside. I think I'm ready to wrap up everything else inside the chamber. I need to install my limit switches. They're gonna go right here and right here. I previously laser cut this arm here. This is going to be to trigger the end stops. Attaches right here on top. Here you can see how it works. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but I couldn't think of a better way to do this. So that's what we're going with for now. Let's go ahead and assemble the pulley assembly for this side and slash belt tensioner. Now I have my idler pulley with this 8mm shaft. Need to fit it into these slots. Now we can install the belt. So I should be able to put a couple screws in here and put some tension on the shaft and belt. Okay, that feels pretty good for now. I think we're done inside the chamber. Back down here on the bottom, I've prepared some hose so we can tie in these chambers back up to the top. I've made a couple design tweaks and I've reprinted this insert. Let's see if it fits. It's difficult for me to get in here and show you, but yeah, it looks like it works. Progress was slow at the beginning, but this assembly went together really fast. It's starting to look like a thing. I'm pretty happy with how everything's coming together so far. Like, I can actually start to see a finish line here somewhere. I think next I need to do a little bit more wiring. I want to cut out the body panel so that I'm protected when we start testing. And yeah, I need to start figuring out the software. Quick question for those of you that use these machines. I believe my laser spot size is about 50 micrometers. What size stainless steel powder would you recommend I start testing with? Huge thank you to PCBWay for sponsoring these aluminum parts. You guys save me so much time, and I have a little bit more to show you from them in an upcoming video. Thank you to Skyfire as always for supporting this project, and thank you to all my Patreon supporters for making all this possible. Thank you guys.